Discovered, heartwarming shift as Venus' incredible colonization surprises even Elon in 2023. Jess Harper stood in her small, sunlit kitchen, flipping pancakes for her kids, Jake and Lily, while the news blared from the radio. Breaking, revolutionary steps taken for the colonization of Venus. The words bounced around her cluttered kitchen, filled with the smell of syrup and the sound of laughter. This was the kind of news that could shift the world, she thought. Even as her own life felt painfully stuck in the mud, she took a deep breath, feeling the familiar weight of economic inequality pressing down on her shoulders. Maplewood had its charm. The golden cornfields waved like old friends in the breeze, and the diner was a warm heart of gossip and support. But Jess felt the sharp edges of struggle, the kind you didn't talk about over coffee. Life had turned into an exhausting routine. Working 2 jobs to support her dreams, while nurturing those of her children, left little room for anything else. Jake, age 12 and full of ideas, wanted to build rockets, dreaming of Venus as if it were a playground waiting for his touch. Lily, just 8, scribbled colorful stories about friendships with aliens. They had hope stitched into their hearts, but Jess was a tether, heavy with maternal worry, keeping them rooted in the reality of bills and late-night shifts at the diner. Suddenly, the front door creaked open, and her estranged father, a figure once lost to the shadows of his demons, stepped into her carefully controlled chaos. The sight sent Jess's heart racing. The man who once left her now stood before her, fragile yet determined. She could see the years etched into his weathered face, lines filled with sorrow and stories untold. Every exchange between them was laced with tension. Each word felt like an ancient echo of abandonment, cultivating an emotional storm that swirled beneath the surface. Jess, he started, but she cut him off, memories and emotions crashing like waves. Before Jess could spiral further into the whirlpool of feelings, the radio announcer interrupted her thoughts. Stay tuned. This Venus project could usher in a new age of prosperity. Her stomach twisted at the thought. Could participating in this project really be her escape from the grind? Yet it teased an insistent truth. Would that mean leaving her father behind when he needed her now more than ever? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days passed, whispers in the town grew louder. The excitement surrounding Venus clashed with fearful murmurs of setbacks, casting doubt over dreams that once soared high. Patrons at the diner eyed Jess with suspicion, as if her potential departure could unravel everything they built together in this tight-knit community. The struggle for a balance between family loyalty and personal ambition tugged at her heart, making it heavier with each choice. Just as Jess began to contemplate her father's presence in her life and her desire for change, she overheard a conversation that rocked her world. He loved her in his way, you know, a nearby customer said about her father, but he didn't know how to show it. The word struck her like lightning, illuminating a path towards understanding. Could it be time for healing at last? And just like that, the storm rumbled, chaos brewing in the spaces between. How would she choose? A distant dream on Venus, or the chaotic yet tender journey of reconciling a broken past? The skies felt heavy with possibility, and Jess found herself standing on the brink of hope and despair. What choice would she make as the world shifted around her? Jess stood at the kitchen sink, staring through the window as shadows stretched across their backyard. The sunlight was fading, much like the resolve she felt. Both Jake and Lily were busy at the kitchen table, engrossed in their dreams of space and adventure, while the radio continued its relentless chatter about Venus. Mom, you think we'll ever go? Jake's eager voice cut through Jess's thoughts. He was looking at her with wide, hopeful eyes, as if she held the key to their future in her hands. Jess forced a smile, but her heart sank. Maybe one day, buddy. Who knows? That uncertainty weighed heavily on her tongue as she rinsed the dishes. What she didn't say was that each potential step towards a new life felt laced with guilt. She turned to see Lily, artistic and innocent, her crayons scattered around like mini asteroids. "I want to visit Earth's sister planet, Mom. With aliens." The little girl giggled, her laughter a soft balm against the storm of emotions swirling inside Jess. But her heart clenched. What kind of future could she promise them when her own felt so fragmented? The next morning, Jess awoke to the smell of freshly brewed coffee. The scent pulled her from sleep, and she trudged into the kitchen, heart racing as memories flooded back. Her father was already there, wrapped in a worn sweater, staring out at the cornfields. "Morning," he mumbled, glancing at her with a fragile smile that danced awkwardly on his lips. "Morning," she replied, her voice a whisper. As she settled into her chair, Jess watched the way the sunlight played across his features, and she felt an unexpected hunger for connection. "About yesterday, I don't know if I can put the past at rest," she finally said, voice trembling as she grabbed her coffee mug for comfort. "You could have reached out." His gaze fell to the table, then back to her. "I know I messed up, Jess. I wasn't ready to be a father." Each word struck deeper than the last, punching through her defenses. She needed to pull away, but for the first time in years, something flickered inside her, a hint of understanding, a chance to uncover the man hidden behind the hurt. "What if we just tried?" The words slipped out before she could stop them, mingling hope with uncertainty. He met her eyes then, and something passed between them, a moment of shared pain, the recognition that healing was messy but possible. The days that followed were a whirlwind of trying to reconcile their relationship. They began to talk. Really talk. Each conversation chipped away at the walls that had once felt so secure. Jess found herself reliving moments from her childhood, fragments of laughter and loss. She started to see her father not just as the man who let her down, but as a person caught in their own web of struggles. But dreams of Venus still gnawed at her. Meetings about the colonization project drew closer, the tantalizing idea of change sparking a fire in her spirit. It was a conflict between two desires, one for a future filled with possibility, and the other for the stability of family bonds. One night, with the radio softly playing in the background, Jess glanced at Jake and Lily, giggling in their bedroom. "Do you think it's crazy," she began, her voice wavering, "to want both?" Just then, the announcer interrupted a major breakthrough. A call for people willing to leave Earth for Venus. In that moment, Jess was left standing at a crossroads, hearts pulling her in two directions. Would she seek the stars or remain anchored to her past? The radio crackled one last time, "Get ready for a new dawn." And Jess, caught between hope and fear, clenched her fists, heart pounding with the weight of a life-changing decision. What would she choose when destiny beckoned from the heavens? Jess hardly slept that night. Her mind buzzed with visions of Venus, clouds of yellow and orange enveloping a world so distant yet so tantalizingly close. She could almost hear the whispers of adventure calling her name as she wrestled with the choice before her. Should she take the leap into the unknown or hold tightly to the comfort of family? Morning sunlight broke through her window, but it felt heavier than usual. Jess shuffled to the kitchen, where her father sat with his coffee, his fingers tracing the rim of the mug nervously. She joined him, swallowing the tension in the air like a dry biscuit. "I heard the announcement," he finally said, breaking the silence, his voice low and gruff. "About the colonization of Venus." She nodded, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly, a swirl of cream blending into dark. "It's a real thing, Dad. People are actually going to leave. Are you thinking about it?" He looked at her, and for a moment, she saw the worry etched deep on his face, a palpable fear that she might actually consider abandoning everything. She hesitated, the weight of her kids' laughter filtering into her thoughts. "I don't know. That place, it's everything we've dreamed of. But what about Jake and Lily? What do they need? I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past." His gaze softened. "Jess, what are we but a collection of our choices? You have to do what's right for you," he replied, his eyes glistening a bit. And maybe if you leave, you'd learn more about yourself. I've always tried to tell you that you could be more than you thought you were." His encouragement felt like a warm blanket wrapping around her, but guilt wrapped even tighter. What if I'm not around for them? What if I'm making a huge mistake? Just then, the sound of excited squeals erupted from the living room. Lily burst in, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Mom! Mom! Jake said he wants to be an astronaut. Can we go to Venus together?" Jess smiled through the anxiety. "Well, what did you tell him?" "I told him that it's super awesome, but we need a spaceship." Lily bounced on her toes, her innocence a refreshing contrast to Jess's turbulent feelings. "See?" Jess's father interjected. "Kids dream big. They don't know what it means to be afraid. Maybe you could learn something from them." As she watched Lily's bright smile, a flicker of hope ignited in her heart. What if she could want both? Adventure and security. Maybe the answer lay in merging those paths instead of choosing one or the other. Later, as the day stretched into evening, she sat with Jake and Lily, their heads close together as they colored a giant poster of the solar system. Jess couldn't help but smile at their infectious energy. How could she tell them to stop dreaming? "Do you guys ever think about what it would be like to live on Venus?" she asked, her heart pounding in her chest. "Yes. Aliens!" Jake shouted, waving his crayon around. "What if there are giant space flowers?" Lily added, her eyes wide with wonder. Suddenly, she saw at the merging of her fears and dreams. What if she talked to the kids about the possibility? What if they could all learn together? They could embrace this adventure as a family, instead of tearing apart. But just as that thought settled in, the phone rang, drawing her back to reality. The caller ID flickered. It was someone from the Colonization project. With shaking hands, she answered, heart racing. "Hello? Hello, Jess. We're finalizing our teams, and we need to know if you're interested in moving forward." And just like that, Jess stood at the precipice again, faced with the choice of a lifetime. Would she leap and take her children with her, or would she turn away from the unknown? The clock ticked loudly in the silence that followed as she held her breath, waiting for a sign or whisper to guide her forward. Would her choice bring them together, or push them apart into the depths of space? The weight of the question hung heavy in the air, thick like the steam rising from her forgotten coffee. Jess looked out the window, watching the sun dip low, casting long shadows across her front yard. Her mind raced like the cars she could hear thundering by on the nearby street. Every honk and engine rev seemed to echo the ticking clock within her. "Jess?" The voice on the other end was steady, insistent. "We just need a decision. We have teams forming, people ready to go." She felt her heart squeeze, a rush of panic and excitement intertwining. Was this really happening? Could she really think about leaving everything behind for a world she only saw in dreams? A soft giggle broke her thoughts. "Mom, look." Jake held up his crayon. "I just drew a rocket ship, and it's flying to Venus." His eyes sparkled with that unyielding hope that all children have, the belief that the boldest dreams aren't just dreams, they can be real. Jess swallowed hard. "That's amazing, buddy. We could go to Venus one day." "What?" Lily piped up, jumping off her seat. "We really can go? Tell me, Mommy." Jess glanced back at the phone, then at her kids, completely unaware of her inner turmoil. A flicker of inspiration hit her, illuminating her confusion with possibility. "Maybe," she began, her voice trembling, "we could think of it all as an adventure. A big journey we could take together, an adventure." Both kids yelled in unison, throwing their arms in the air like they just discovered a hidden treasure. Their excitement filled the room, echoing around her heart. "But I don't know, kids. It's a long way. What about school? Friends?" Lily's brow furrowed in contemplation, classic kid style. "But think of the aliens. We can make new friends. Jess smiled at their innocent perspective. Could they really be so brave? They hadn't lived through the heartbreaks and hard choices that adulthood brought. Somehow, the gravity of her desires felt lighter in their company, their enthusiasm sparkled against her doubts like the stars against the night sky. Maybe if I say yes, it can be just like the stories we tell, she said, still caught in indecision. Yeah. Jake shouted, hopping up and down. Mom, we can explore the space flowers together. And meet aliens. She imagined her family in those moments floating among the clouds, laughter ringing out as they discover undiscovered worlds. The voice reminded her on the line, Jess, please. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You'd be part of history. Her vision swirled with vibrant colors again, shadows back to reality creeping in the corners. Yet a tiny voice in her heart whispered louder than before, what if? Then, the doorbell rang. A sharp, startling sound that tugged Jess back to the present. Her father had left unintentional footprints in the hallway as he glanced curiously from the living room. She raised her hand to the phone, hesitating, feeling the urge to open the door. Can you hold on just a second? Of course, the caller replied softly, her heart raced as she moved toward the door. Curiosity danced in her mind, a gentle push urging her to see who awaited her on the other side. What if it was good news? What if it changed everything? With a deep breath, she reached for the doorknob, heart pounding. The choice loomed larger than ever as she turned it, opening up a world of endless possibilities. What awaited her outside could either tie her family's fate together or unravel everything she held dear. But amidst the confusion and uncertainty, hope fluttered wildly in Jess's chest. Would she find the answers she sought, or would this step begin an even deeper struggle? The door swung open, caught in the light of the fading sun, but all she could see was the silhouette beyond, waiting to reveal the next chapter of her life. The silhouette took a single step into the light, revealing a figure that made Jess's heart skip a beat. Mom? It was Claire, her sister, standing there with a broad grin and a bouquet of wildflowers clutched in her hands. The sight of her sister, bright and full of life, washed over Jess like a wave. Claire had always been the adventurous one, it was in her spirit. It was no surprise she would show up with flowers, a token from the nearby field. Surprise! Claire chimed, her voice a burst of sunshine. Claire! Jess exclaimed, a rush of warmth filling her heart. What are you doing here? I just had to see you, Claire said, practically bouncing on her heels, the excitement palpable. I brought these to celebrate the fact that you might take that leap. I heard you've been thinking about it. Jess swallowed hard, the reality of her decision pressing down on her again. Yeah, I am still not sure yet. As if sensing her hesitation, Claire stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Come on, Jess. Life's too short to play it safe all the time. We only get one chance to chase our dreams. The flowers in Claire's arms were vibrant, wild, just like her sister's spirit. Jess couldn't help but smile, even as a flicker of fear curled in her stomach. But what about the kids? What about stability? She asked, glancing back into the house where Jake and Lily were now peeking through the door. They had turned into tiny spies, listening to every word exchanged. Adventures don't come with guarantees. Remember when we were kids? The world was our playground. Claire exclaimed. Jake and Lily are like blank slates. Show them what it is to dream big. You'll be their biggest example. The thought echoed in Jess's mind. A new world, new friendships, fresh experiences. Her sister's words painted a different picture, one where fear mingled with inevitable joy. Well, if I say yes, just say yes. Claire interrupted, laughter bubbling through her voice. You have to trust that everything will fall into place. Jess felt the weight of Claire's words wrap around her heart. But alongside the thrill of possibility, shadows of doubt loomed larger. What if it all goes wrong? The question slipped from her lips, barely above a whisper, Claire stepped closer, her expression softening. What if it goes right? It's all about perspective, Jess. You can't let fear win. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in rich hues of orange and purple, Jess felt the urgency to make a decision swell within her. Mommy! A voice called, louder now. Lily bounded forward, flowers and promise glistening in her innocent gaze. Can we go to space already? The spark in Lily's eyes ignited Jess's heart. The adventure, the laughter, the unknown, all of it loomed ahead, waiting. Sighing, a mix of excitement and panic coiling in her chest, Jess placed her hands on her sister's shoulders. What if I really want to go? Claire's grin widened, the flowers swaying in her grip like a banner of hope. Well then, Claire replied, her voice brimming with excitement. Let us make plans. But then, just as Jess felt her doubts beginning to lift, she spotted something in the sky. A shooting star streaked across the horizon, strange and bright, the kind of celestial wonder she had only ever dreamed of. Did it mean something? Jess froze, all thoughts dispersing. What if this unusual sight was a sign, an omen for the leap she was contemplating? With Jake and Lily's voices still ringing in her ears, echoing the hope she found beneath their stars, Jess knew she stood at a pivotal moment. What would happen if she chose to leap into the unknown? The questions hung like the stars above them, shimmering with silent promises. She felt the stir of fate beneath her feet, ready to pull her forward into destiny. But would she take that leap? Back inside, her phone buzzed, the voice on the other end still waiting for a response that felt impossibly heavy. With Claire beside her and the children's laughter surrounding her, Jess took a deep breath, knowing she had to decide. But as the sky darkened, capturing the lights of a thousand possibilities, she wondered, what if she weren't the only one facing a decision that would change everything? Jess blinked as the shooting star faded, leaving only a lingering flicker of light in her mind. The sense of something grand happening echoed in her heart, but she could just hear the ordinary life calling her back. The phone buzzed again, more insistent this time, dragging her focus away from the sky's wonders. Mommy, please. Can we go to space? Lily tugged at Jess's hand, her little face lit up with excitement. The innocence in her daughter's eyes pulled at Jess's heart, a reminder that life choices didn't just affect her but also shaped the dreams of her kids. Jess knelt down, bringing herself to Lily's height. Sweetheart, it's not that simple. Space is, well, it's far away. She smiled, trying to mask her mounting anxiety. But inside, her thoughts were wrestling hard with doubt and hope. Claire squeezed Jess's shoulder, as if sharing in her turmoil. Think about it, Jess. What if space means something more? It could mean opportunities, adventures, a life less ordinary. It could mean teaching Jake and Lily to explore beyond what they see. Like when we were kids, Jess whispered, almost to herself, recalling carefree moments spent in their backyard imagining worlds beyond the stars, cardboard rockets strapped to their backs. Yes. Just like that. Claire beamed. She glanced at Jake, who joined them now, eyeing the flowers curiously. Can you imagine that, Jake? Going beyond the clouds? Jake's eyes lit up like two tiny lanterns. Can we really? I want to see aliens. Okay, Jess laughed, seeing the joy spread across her children's faces. But what about school? They need to. Jess. Claire interjected, her voice firm yet loving. You're thinking too much. The universe doesn't wait. Some things you have to dive into head first. The conversation hung in the air, the weight of Jess's phone in her pocket a stark contrast to her rising excitement. Claire had the right of it. Kids believed in possibilities, maybe Jess needed to believe just a little more, too. Jess stood up and turned toward Claire, the flowers in her sister's hand reminding her of hope, of ideas not yet realized. All right, she said, feeling a tingle of determination growing within her. What do we have to do to start? Claire's face shone with enthusiasm. Let us sit down together tonight. Make a list. Just brainstorm what it would look like to make this leap. You'll see, it's usually the first step that feels the hardest. Can I help too? Jake chimed in, hopping on his feet. Of course. You can be my idea check. Jess smiled, suddenly buzzing with the rush of possibilities. Lily clapped her hands, bouncing in place, and Jess couldn't help but laugh as the weight of her worries began to lift. The phone buzzed again, drawing Jess's attention back. She hesitated but felt a passionate spark ignite. The need for change was greater than the fear holding her back. With a deep breath, she pulled out her phone. The voice on the other end would need to know her decision, but as she clicked the screen, she caught sight of a twinkling star even brighter than before. Another promise from the sky? Or perhaps just a reflection of the newfound hope blooming in her heart? Suddenly, an unexpected text flashed across the screen, turning her world upside down with a message that could change everything. What the heck? Jess gasped, her heart racing as her eyes widened. What had she just unlocked? Different possibilities danced before her eyes, reflecting doubts, fears, and untamed dreams, but the urgency tugged at her heart, beckoning her to discover what lay beyond this moment. Could her choices lead to the destiny she longed for? Jess's heart raced as she read the text. It simply said, "Opportunity knocks. Your old project is back on the table. Let us chat." What project? Her mind pounced on memories buried deep, days spent drafting ideas about space, endless nights tackling equations and concepts, dreams that once felt so alive. A chill ran through her, a mix of fear and excitement urging her to respond. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Lily's small voice broke through Jess's thoughts. Jess knelt down, her fingers still clutching the phone, uncertainty swirling in her chest. "Nothing, sweetie. Just some old work stuff. Can we go to space now?" Lily's hope shone brightly, reminding Jess of that innocent belief that anything was possible. "Yes," Jess found herself saying with surprising boldness. "Maybe we can." Claire raised an eyebrow, surprised but intrigued. "Are you serious?" "I don't know," Jess admitted, her heart thumping. "But this could be my chance." Jake crawled closer, eyes wide with curiosity. "What are you talking about, Mom?" Jess took a deep breath, glancing skyward, considering the stars and planets beyond. "Remember when I used to work on space ideas? It looks like I might have that opportunity again." "Like a rocket ship?" Jake bounced on his toes, the excitement contagious. "More like using everything I learned." But she paused, the weight pressing down again. "This means a lot of work. I don't even know if I'm ready for it." "Of course you are." Claire's voice was steady, her support unwavering. "You've always been ready. You just need to believe in yourself." As Jess wrestled with that thought, she glanced at her kids. Their faces glimmered with wonder and the belief that their mom could do anything. Could she really take this leap? "Tonight let us write down ideas," Jess said finally, feeling a wave of resolve wash over her. "Not just for the project, for all of us. Adventures, dreams, whatever comes to mind." "Yes." Lily squealed, her little hands pumping the air. As they spun ideas, Jess felt the old spark reigniting in her heart. There were countless ways to explore beyond the ordinary, paths to take with her children, whether in space or in life. But would she have the courage to take this chance? To face the unknown again? The phone buzzed in her hand, reminding her of the reality awaiting her. She typed a response, "Let us meet. Tell me more." A thrill shot through her. What if this path led to something greater? But more than that, what if it changed how her children viewed the world? "Mom, are we really going to space?" Jake asked with fervor. Jess smiled at her son, feeling the warmth of possibility melting the doubt. "Not just yet. But we can dream big. And who knows?" One day, just as she spoke, a distant rumble of thunder crackled through the night air. The clouds began to gather, chaotic and beautiful. Jess's heart raced. The universe felt alive tonight, bursting with energy. With a knowing glance at her children, she felt a sense of urgency. Something was shifting. What new adventures awaited them in this storm of dreams? Would they brave the tides and ride the waves of change together? Guys, Jess said, her voice steady, let's get ready for a journey. We're about to discover something amazing. But what awaited them on the other side of this revelation? The first brush against fate could lead them down a path they'd never imagined. The next morning, Jess woke early, unable to shake off the feeling that something monumental was about to unfold. The storm had passed overnight, leaving behind a crisp dawn that seemed to shimmer with potential. She could almost hear the universe whispering, urging her to chase her dreams. As she sipped her coffee, Jess glanced at her children, still nestled in their blankets. Lily's curls were a wild mess, while Jake was sprawled across his bed, his face peaceful in sleep. A wave of love washed over her, mixed with an undercurrent of nerves. This project could pull her away from them. Yet, she also recognized that it might set a new course for their family. "What are you thinking, Mom?" Claire's drawl broke through her reverie. She had emerged from her own room, a hopeful smile in place. "I can't help but wonder if this really is my chance," Jess replied, her heart still fluttering. "But I worry what it means for us." Claire tipped her head, her expression earnest. "Jess, the kids see you as their hero. If you brave this, they'll understand that dreams are worth pursuing, no matter how big. It could inspire them." Jess pondered that. Could this actually be the spark to ignite something bigger for their family? After a quick breakfast, they gathered around the living room table, a sea of colored paper, markers, and crayons spread out before them. Lily couldn't stop twirling as she transformed ordinary ideas into extraordinary dreams. "What if we could build a rocket ship that grows flowers on Mars?" Jake suggested, his eyes alight with wonder. "Now that's a beautiful idea." Jess encouraged, folding in her own vision. "What if we make a space station that collects stardust? It could help us paint the sky." With every suggestion thrown into the mix, Jess felt her excitement build. Each laugh, each surprised gasp from her children, pulled her deeper into the world of possibilities. They were creating not just ideas, they were forging a path forward together. Hours later, their table was filled with sketches and notes. Jess's heart swelled as she realized she hadn't felt this alive in a long time. They finished up with a flurry of scribbles and giggles, all three of them collaborating like true space explorers. "Okay, team," Jess finally said, "I need to prepare for my meeting. We need our ideas to be ready for a real adventure." Lily and Jake nodded, their faces etched with determination. "Can we come to the meeting with you?" Jake asked. Jess chuckled lightly, then thought seriously about it. "You know what, I think we should. It'll be a fun outing, and who knows, our ideas might just impress them." As Jess got ready, her spirits soared. There was yet another bustle in her heart as she envisioned introducing her children to a world they only dreamed about. But just as she finished dressing, she received a message. The meeting was happening sooner than expected. "Oh no! We need to get going, team." Rushing out the door, Jess felt a mix of apprehension and excitement. Would her own dreams align with the world outside? Driving to the meeting felt like zooming through space, anticipation crackling in the air around them. As they approached the conference room, Jess looked back at her kids, both busy bouncing in their seats, filled with their dreams. "Okay, everyone, incredibly important question," she said, her voice steady as she pulled into the parking lot. "What if this moment reveals something we weren't expecting? Something that could change everything?" Her voice hung in the air, pregnant with possibility. She realized then that this journey was about more than her dreams, it was about building a legacy of hope. As they stepped into the building, Jess felt the walls hum with energy. What would they discover inside? Would this opportunity reshape their lives forever? Jess stepped into the conference room, her heart racing with every beat. She took a moment to catch her breath, absorbing the vibrant energy of the space. The buzz of conversations around her felt like a chaotic symphony, and for the first time, she didn't feel out of place. She was a part of this, alongside her children, who bounced eagerly behind her. "Mom, I'm ready," Jake exclaimed, tugging on her shirt. "Me too," Lily echoed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Jess smiled down at them, their enthusiasm sparking a warmth within her. But the moment was fleeting as she felt the weight of responsibility settle back onto her shoulders. With Claire by her side, she took a deep breath, straightened her back, and stepped forward into the room. A long table dominated the space. At one end, a panel of professionals sat with their laptops open, their expressions deftly shifting from casual conversation to focused attention as they turned towards Jess and her children. She introduced herself with a steady voice, hoping to mask the flutter in her stomach. "Thank you for having us. I'm Jess, and these," she gestured to her children, "are my greatest inspirations, Jake and Lily." The panel smiled, one of the members, a woman in her late 30s, with bright glasses and an encouraging grin, leaned in. "We're excited to hear what you've come up with." With that, Jess seized her chance. "We've been dreaming of space, sharing our ideas on exploration and colonization." She effortlessly switched between ideas, blending her vision with their collective creativity. The room seemed to come alive with her passion. She could feel her children's energy radiating through her words. Claire interjected, her voice clear and strong. "What if we could create habitats on Venus that grow plants to help sustain life?" The interest in the room shifted, each face lighting up with curiosity. "Plants? On Venus?" A dapper man with a beard scratched his chin. "That's an incredible concept. What would they need to thrive?" As Jess found herself caught in the flow, she realized the meeting wasn't just about presenting ideas, it was about energizing a community of like-minded dreamers who believed in reaching for the stars. She noticed that Lily and Jake were sharing their sketches, pointing to vibrant colors and innovative designs, their voices mingling with excitement. Minutes turned to an hour, and Jess felt the tension in her chest release. The panel was engaged, asking questions, challenging their ideas, and encouraging collaboration. The atmosphere transformed from a mere presentation into an open dialogue where ideas bounced back and forth like rockets in orbit. Finally, after an exhilarating exchange, the lead panelist stood, a gleam in her eye. "Let's set up another meeting for deeper discussions. There's real potential here, Jess." Jess couldn't help but beam. The joy that washed over her felt like a tidal wave, crashing through moments of doubt she had held so tightly. But as she glanced at her children's faces, pure pride illuminating their features, she was reminded, this was just the beginning. As they walked out of the room, Jess felt a rush of gratitude. "We did it. You guys were incredible. We really were," Jake exclaimed, high-fiving Lily, but the exhilaration of their success faded slightly as Claire spoke up, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Mom, wait. What if they want you to go to Venus for research?" Jess's laughter was bright, but the question hung in the air, sending a chill down her spine. What if they did? The prospect of leaving her children for such a monumental opportunity was both a dream and a nightmare. In the midst of joyful chatter and laughter, Jess faced a reality she hadn't fully considered. Would pursuing her dream come at a cost? Suddenly, the excitement felt tinged with uncertainty. What could she do when the adventure stretched far beyond what she had planned? Little did she know, the answers waiting ahead could reshape everything she thought she knew. Jess stood at the doorway of her home, staring out at the vast expanse of the night sky, shimmering with stars. It felt like a moment of reckoning, the kind of moment you didn't know was coming until it slapped you right in the face. The recent meeting had sent her thoughts racing, each possibility beckoning her toward new horizons. But now, standing here, reality loomed larger than before. The kids were in the living room, wrapping themselves in laughter and crayons as they pulled excitement from the universe around them. Every joyful squeal was a reminder of what she had to protect but also who she could inspire. Jess inhaled deeply, summoning courage from the warmth in her heart. "Hey, kiddos," she called, her voice steady, feeling the urge to pull them into the adventure of it all. They shuffled into the room, eyes sparkling, filled with anticipation. "Can we talk about Venus again? Space flowers. Aliens." Jake's exuberance spilled forth, a reminder of why she cared so deeply. "I want to make a rocket ship that sings." Lily chimed in, jumping up and down. Jess couldn't help but smile. Their innocent aspirations anchored her, making her own dreams feel entirely possible. And suddenly, she knew. Here's the deal. Jess knelt down to their level, her heart racing as she felt the weight of her dreams resting on her shoulders. What if we turned our dreams into a family project? A journey we can all share, not just stories about Venus but real plans. What if we explore, together? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Jake's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Does that mean we all go?" A lump formed in Jess's throat. She nodded. "It means we dream big and work together. If we get picked for the Venus project, we would go together." Excitement swirled around them, pulling laughter bubbling forth, infectious joy igniting with every word exchanged. That night, bursting with creativity, they filled their walls with plans, sketches, ideas reaching beyond the stars' possibilities that would breathe life into their dreams. Jess felt buoyed by their resolve, belief coursing through her veins, each outline of a rocket or an alien jungle making her realize that the adventure had already begun right at home. Days later, Jess received a call. "Jess, we'd like you to be part of the Venus research team. It could be pivotal in understanding the colonization efforts," the voice said, brimming with anticipation. She felt her heart dance between excitement and dread. A turn toward the future was here. "Can we be a family project?" She stammered out, her voice steady but laced with vulnerability. "Absolutely. Your creative input will be invaluable, but it will require dedication and time away." Her heart sank. "But what does that mean for my kids?" "Family is powerful, Jess. Show them what it means to make brave choices. You could lead them to incredible possibilities, even if it's tough." Those words echoed in her mind, lighting a fire within. They didn't just encompass an opportunity for her, but a chance to transform her family's narrative entirely. Later that evening, Jess gathered her family around the dinner table, an air of gravity enveloping them. "I've been thinking," she started, her heart beating visibly in her chest, "about the invitation I received." The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. "Are we going to space?" Jake asked, his eyes wide with hope. "Well, if you both want to join me, we'll find a way together. But it won't be easy. But we love hard things." Lily exclaimed, clenching her fists like a superhero ready for battle. They discussed it late into the night, weighing fears against dreams, together forging a path filled with adventure and possibilities. It was their dreams wrapped in love, and suddenly nothing felt impossibly far away. Days blended into nights as paperwork and preparation filled their lives. The big day of departure dawned, a brilliant sunrise breaking on a world and family transformed. Jess stood at the new launch pad, her heart pitter-pattering wildly. Jake and Lily gripped her hands, their little fingers intertwining with her own. "Mommy, are we really gonna explore the stars?" Jake whispered, a hint of adventure in his voice. "Yes, my brave space explorers," she replied, emotion tightening in her throat. As they stepped into their shuttle, Jess felt every doubt washed away in the certainty that they were living their dreams together, as a family. The countdown began, and her heart soared. 3, 2, 1. The engines roared to life, enveloping them in a cocoon of sound, pushing aside the rest of the world. The shuttle lifted off, breaking through the atmosphere, leaving behind the familiar comforts and the weight of her past. And as they rocketed toward the stars, Jess realized that this journey wasn't just about colonizing Venus. It was the ultimate lesson the universe had to offer. Sometimes the bravest adventures are the ones you take hand in hand with those you love. They were explorers together now, a family thriving in the unknown, stitching dreams into the fabric of their lives, a tapestry woven with hope and love, reflecting not just the journey to Venus, but every step taken together along the way. Soaring through the vast expanse of space was not just an adventure, it was a celebration of reconciliation, transformation, and the unbreakable bond of family. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.